And through the years, as a young man pastoring a church, ignorant as I could be, had a gift from the Lord to communicate and use that on the weekends to speak and to preach, had no idea how to lead people, was just terrified that people looked to me as a shepherd that had needs. I'm sitting in classes at East Texas Baptist, little classes that they held about pastoral ministry and so forth, and all of my friends are dozing off and they're snoozing in class, and I'm on the front row saying, please tell me something that can help me serve these people. And it gave me this sense of application that I need what these guys are telling me. Because in our first year of pastoring, we had a family in our church. The man was 25 years old and he had a heart issue. They had a child who had that same heart issue. The child was 5 months old and the baby was having trouble, and so they took them to a children's hospital in Little Rock, and I had to drive up there and see that. And while we were there, the husband's heart issue came up and flared with him, and he was in Baylor right across the street. And so they're both in the hospital, and here's this young wife, and I'm the pastor. The husband died. A month later, the child died. A month after that, that woman's home burned to the ground and she lost everything. That's a load when you're 60. But when you're in your 20s, you want to talk about imposter syndrome? Anybody heard that phrase, imposter syndrome? It's that thought that comes up, who am I and what am I doing this for? Nobody's going to believe me. I've got nothing to say. Who am I? But I had this word to fall back on. God knew me before He formed me. He set me apart, and He's enabled and equipped me to do it. The rest of that verse, you can look at it. I'm sure many of you have read it many times. Goes on that Jeremiah protests. He says, I'm too young. I'm too young. What are you asking me to do this for? I'm too young. He was basically saying, I'm inadequate and I'm inexperienced. And God's response to him has served me well over the years. Don't tell me you're young. Don't tell me. I know you. You just go say what I tell you to say. And don't let their faces mess with you, because if you do, I'm going to mess with you. That's the Bill Leckie paraphrase of Jeremiah 1. But it gets to the heart of what he was saying to Jeremiah. And so I held on to that, and I had to trust the Lord. Throughout that story, other transitions occurred. We saw God provide for us in miraculous ways. Even when we were pastoring in this East Texas area, Longview to us was town, we would have to drive in. We pastored up in Ore City and in Big Sandy, and before moving to the Metroplex in the early 90s. But we saw all kinds of things happen, and it was about the faithfulness of God. God was faithful to me.